Hello and welcome to episode 82 of FPL Apprentice. It's a new season, but the boys are back in town. If you're here to learn how to best play the game, you're in the right place. I'm Dave, FPL Apprentice, and I'm here just like you to learn from the very best. And who is that? Well, if 6 times top 10k finishes and 5 times top 10 5k finishes is enough, he's also a former world number one. It's obviously Matt Corbridge. Matt, how the devil are you, sir?
Hello, my friend. Yeah, it's great to be back, fresh after the summer, new season, some big changes, some new rules. Yeah, I'm feeling pumped. How are things with you? You good?
Good. Yeah, I enjoyed the break. I didn't bother with any of the Euros or the Club World Cup FPL, so took a little break from it, but nice and I'm excited to be back, mate. I feel like this is the season I'm going to have my best ever finish, mainly because you're going to help me get there.
Yeah, well, I'm loving the optimism, mate. I'm loving the optimism.
Okay. We'll see how we get on. But yeah, we're doing things a little bit differently this season. So a couple of episodes a week, but shorter episodes. A brand new opening. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Leave comments if you think it was better. But yeah, should we dive straight in, Matt? Should we dive straight in?
Yeah,
Episode
let's do it.
one of season three. And what I thought would be a good way to start. So we are going to talk about the top 5 tips to smash your FPL this season. But what I also wanted what I thought would be a good idea, mate, is for anybody that's new to us, let's meet the hosts. I think we're going to start with you because you're the master. But yeah, it'd be good to just hear a little bit about your FPL, your seasons, how you got involved in it, and your style.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a lot of people, of course, it's a combination of just a love for football. Of course, you got to have a bit of interest, I guess, and then having a bit of an analytical mind, then being like competitive against mates, right? So a combo of the three have played many different kind of fantasy games and like stuff of you know equivalent games. Official FPL game, official Fantasy Premier League. I think I'm now entering my 11th season. So yeah, and I've had a decent record since starting. We'll talk about playing style and kind of like top tips, but generally my approach, kind of really before it was kind of trendy, was trusting the underlying data, right? Looking at things like shots on target, like team defensive stats, looking at bookies odds. These are like some of the predecessors to things like expected goals and expected goals kind of conceded. Yeah, I'd always take them as truth over actual points, actual goals, because I thought they were a bit more kind of random, and that underlying data was kind of more reflective of how um, players and teams will actually perform longer term. I think I always planned looking at the fixtures, targeting kind of easy fixture runs for kind of good, and planning over that medium term, so that like 6 to 8 game week horizon. So I wasn't kind of really rash. I was always quite patient and methodical. Try to limit hits. Yeah, we'll go for other tips like all the boring stuff, 90-minute players, set piece to kind of take, is all these things that I think push your odds of doing well marginally in the kind of right direction. Before, and this has changed, I used to love putting a lot of money into my starting 11, having a really strong starting 11 and a really weak bench to kind of limit the decision making. I think I've come around to having a more solid squad, and I think the big change, there's been some rule changes this year, of course, with defensive contributions, DEFCON, which makes that there's some cheaper options that are kind of like properly viable. But I think the move last year, which has continued in this year, being able to roll up to 5 free transfers, I think that gives added weight of having a balanced squad, right? So you can kind of use your bench rotate and like save transfers essentially to kind of make more
Yeah.
impactful moves down the line. But yeah, that's a little bit about me and my planes kind of style. Um, Last couple of years, last 3 years since we've been doing this pod, I've been a little bit off track compared to kind of like my previous history. But I start most seasons
My bad.
saying um, aim is top 5k. I've had quite a few top 5ks in a row.
Yeah.
Historically, be great to you gotta have a hell of a lot of luck to go in your way. But yeah, for me, I look at the underlying decision making, the underlying data, see if that's all sensible. And if I'm doing well against that, then I kind of I'll leave the rest to luck. So yeah, 5K I think is the
Your aim.
target, and more difficult each year. But this year creates more opportunities, right? It creates more randomness with the additional chips, and we will talk about the chips and whatnot in another episode. Like this is just a little bit. This one's a quick one, but I think this year opens up quite a few opportunities. Opens up that variance, right? The kind of randomness, but it does it does give interesting chances. And like, hey, this has been obviously good chatting through with you. And I guess like our style here is lots of different podcasts take their own approach, right? I think our focus really is our own learning experience, us challenging each other, our own journeys through the season. We'll bring out fixtures, we'll bring out players we like, but we won't be particularly obsessed with stats tables. We won't be particularly obsessed with underlying data, nor will it be just a bit personal conversation, but somewhere in between, right? Just our own kind of experiences and thought process. So, kind of hopefully you enjoy it as much as us.
Nice. And just put a few things on the screen just to give people some insight. So best finish 1180. Like finisher positions I can only dream of. You know, I mentioned a minute ago, 5 top 5Ks, 6 top 10Ks, 9 top 25Ks. I feel like that 10-year average, you've had one bad year which has really pulled that up. So that doesn't do you justice, mate. You know, your average should be a lot lower than that. And then for anybody that isn't aware, I put Premier FT's all-time rank. So that's Premier Fantasy Tools all-time rank. And what it does is it looks at the last 10 seasons for every player in FPL. It promotes consistency and consistently high finishes, and it gets updated every month. Matt is currently 13th in the world on that. So you've got to be happy with that, Matt, even after one or two bad seasons recently.
Yeah, I think obviously we've done a bit of sampling bias there. I think we've gone for the like Hall of Fame style tool. Reflects on me the best. There are other tools available, but 13th is good. I think there was a few years when I was number one on that, so it's going to be really difficult to kind of claw that back. But you got to be happy with that. So reflective of some consistent play. So it's been good to have some good ranks for a couple of seasons for sure. And it's been 2 or 3 not so good ones. So looking forward to pushing hard for closer to top 10K this year. That was what we used to call ourselves for those that aren't aware. Journey to 10K, and then I think both of us realized maybe it was a bit too ambitious. So we renamed this show to be a bit more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, that said, we'll move on to me. I have broke the top 10K in Premier Fantasy Tools all-time rank. I've made the top 10K, Matt, despite never having a top 10K finish. Broke the top 10K. Come on, but I'm Dave. For anybody that hasn't watched before, my best finish is 41K. My finishes are less impressive than Matt's. 5 top 75K, 3 top 50K. But I feel like I'm getting a bit more consistent. I've had 3 top 75Ks in a row. So I'm seeing things get better. My first season was 2011, 2012. So what's that? 14 seasons? I think I've played there or thereabouts. And in that season, I finished 1.7 million. So I've definitely started to bring those. Throw my pen around. Definitely started to bring those ranks down. The last 7 seasons, my worst rank has been 176. So I'm kind of playing around though. On average 80K, 90K, 100K sort of mark. And that's why we started this. It was, I'm a very active, engaged manager, but how do I think differently to somebody that is finishing in the top 10K like you, Matt? And that's kind of the idea behind the idea of this podcast came. I think my style doesn't suit the elite. And the reason I say that is I do focus a lot on data. So I'll be looking on XG, I'll be looking at expected assists, expected clean sheets, all of that sort of stuff. Probably too much, rather than the eye test, which I know can always, can sometimes be a bit of a better way of playing it. I do try and adapt to the fixtures, but sometimes don't do the obvious move. What I'd say, Matt, is right. The difference between us is you'd probably play solidly for 38 weeks. I would play solidly for maybe 32, 33 weeks, but in those 5 weeks I go rogue, I rarely go rogue, and it doesn't go down well. So that's what I'm trying to cut out. But yeah,
I mean, I think
data heavy.
like you
Some
said, you've your averages are going down, mine are going up. Your 3-year average is far better than me, right? So I don't think I've beaten you in the last 3 seasons. So okay, you're the one doing
take it.
doing better.
I'll
Yeah,
take it.
we've all got we've all got our kind of like nuances of how we play, and yeah, I'm hoping. There was times last year where our paths converged because, like, yeah, sometimes the most obvious option is the best option, right? Don't overthink it or force things to be different. But I think with you know, we essentially got chips to play every 4 game weeks, right? This year, if you count the first half of the season, the second half of the season, the AFCON thing, right? That's loads. That's loads. So like that means that conversion strategies, different players. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we agree on some things, but hopefully I'm hoping we have a few different like paths that we pursue, and like still both do really
Well,
well. It'd be interesting.
I'll tell you now, for an episode that'll come out in what day are we on? We're on Tuesday. For an episode that'll come out on Thursday, that we're going to record later on. Having seen both of our drafts, I think there's only 2 players that are the same, mate. So I think there's going to be some differences, which will keep it exciting.
Nice.
But yeah, let's move on to top 5 must-know tips to win your FPL mini league. No guarantees with that. No money returned if you don't win it. But these are the tips that Matt you probably live by throughout your FPL career. And we'll come straight in. Straight in. I'm going this like top of the pops. Straight in at number 1. Starters and 90-minute players.
Yeah, and I think like apologies if this feels like we're treating everyone like idiots. I think I don't know. I don't always live by these rules. I think nor do you, but they're always good reminders and like I think help with the probability of doing better in FPL. So yeah, a lot of these will feel like stating the obvious, but I think that's okay, and it's a good reminder. So yeah, I mean, filling your team with guaranteed starters is really important, and filling your team with players that play close to as much as 90 minutes when they're fit is kind of really important. Have a 1 or 2 players that are a little bit more of a minutes risk, but yeah, kind of getting minutes right is really important. If you think of the variables that go into predicting if someone's going to do well, minutes is a massive variable, right? You'll have things like how many shots they're taking, how strong their defense is, blah blah blah, how creative they are. But minutes is probably one of the most interesting variables and one that's probably most easiest to kind of pick, really. So I think no excuses there, and I think at the start of the season that's really important. So yeah, I
I think it's
last
going to
season,
become more.
I had loads of minutes risk, so I didn't live by this, and it kind of came to bite me in the ass like really quickly. I was a person who had a Barco, a Quanza, like so they were edge players, not in my kind of starting 11, but it hurt me really. So I'm gonna try hard to go for guaranteed starters and 90 minutes players.
I think it's one of them, and it's especially now when injury times are 8-9 minutes regularly. So having
So
those
many
players that are going to stay on the pitch.
so many goals, but also this year is a really good point, mate. This year with defensive contributions, and we'll do an episode where we go into chip strategy and also the rule changes in a little bit more detail. But defensive contributions, the potential to get 2 points if you've made 11 was it C bits, right? Clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles, and then retentions if you're a midfielder. The more minutes you're on the pitch, the higher chance you got to make a block or a clearance, right? So it helps from the defenders as well. Historically, I think you're more favoured the attackers, but yeah, it's kind of really important. It helps you accrue bonus points more. So yeah, it's really solid. But yeah, mate, what's the table you plugged in to validate this
So
point?
just that's it. It's just to validate your points. So what I've done is I've pulled the top 2 points from last season, the top 2 point scorers from the defense, the midfield, and the attack. I've left keepers out because keepers play 90 minutes, right? Unless they're injured. And it was just to prove that point, mate. All of them pretty much started unless they were injured. Like Isaac
Mhm.
got injured, so he missed a few games. But they all played predominantly 80 plus minute. Again, injuries affected Isaac. And whereas Wood maybe, he missed 7. If you go to 70 minutes plus, 33 games out of his 35, he played 70 minutes plus. And these guys were the top scorers. So it just goes to prove the point, mate.
So these are the from
Const-
last year. These are the top 2 scoring players: defenders,
in
midfielders,
each
and
position.
attackers. Yeah.
Correct. And they all
Yeah.
started, they all played a lot of minutes.
Yeah, well, it's
Simple
not
as that.
surprising, is it? Given it's the most important variable. But yeah, I think that can like backs the point, and like people who like their models and stuff like that. Obviously, the underlying data that's feeding into them, minutes is one of the most important inputs, right? So,
Yeah,
um, and even before models, like if you were playing FPL Sensible, you'd be doing a calculation in your head, right? That the amount like a
yeah.
model does for you instantly is one of those things. So yeah, that's like first thing. Pick players that are nailed.
Well, the second is all about set piece takers. Do you want me to run you through the table?
Yeah, mate,
Start you off, prove your
what's
point.
the table? What's the table saying? And
Yeah. So what I've put together here is looking at last season's big point scorers and just bringing to the table how many of those points actually came from set pieces. Now, what all this does, by the way, we've named the set pieces. So take Salah as an example. He scored 9 penalties. Well, that's 45 points just from the goals. What it doesn't take into account is the bonus points he'll got. What it also doesn't take into account is any assists that they got from taking a set piece. Like if Bruno Fernandes took a free kick and a defender headed it in, and I couldn't get that data, but it
okay,
just
so
proves like
the free kicks there, because it's primarily penalties. The free kicks there are direct free kicks they've scored, right, rather than
who scored them.
corners. And it's just I mean, like it's set pieces. Like anyone who's got a penalty, what was it? It's about a 78% chance to score a penalty, right? It's one of the clearest goal scoring chances that you have in a game. If a player gets it on average, what 7, 5, 6, 7 a year, yeah, it's a big contribution towards kind of points, right? The same with free kicks, the same with corners, right? These are great chances to get attacking returns. So yeah, I think target them, and I think a rule change this year around assists. I don't think it's going to radically change stuff, but did you see the rule around assists where it was like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
if a player scores in the box, but it hits a defender before, one defender can hit it, and then if someone scores a goal, then whoever's crossed that in, as long as it happens in the
Gets the
box,
assist.
they get the assist, right? So yeah, that helps corner kicks. Think about the corner kicks where there'll be a centre back, it bounces off and then lands on the striker's chest or something like that. That'll be an assist this
Yeah.
year as well. So yeah, I think it's always a good tactic to fill your team of set piece takers, particularly penalty takers. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it.
Two
Obviously got
another
a bit of a random selection here, but Mbumo, Salah, Fernandez, their points are dominated by
set
well, all
pieces.
the players that you put there,
Absolutely.
all those players last year. Let's not say when all these players aren't going to be good assets this year, and Bumo's not going to be good. Neither is Pedro, Cliver to be confirmed. But like last season, these were great players throughout either through the whole season or at certain periods, and it was because of them being on set pieces. So yeah,
Absolutely.
targeting those set penalty takers particularly, but also corners, free kicks is always a good tactic.
Yeah, Pedro got under 100 without his penalties. Pedro wouldn't have scored 100 points last season, and he won't be on penalties at Chelsea. So yeah, it's just the discrepancies. Just to back up your point further, mate. 5 of the top 6 midfielders of last season were set piece takers. 6 of the top 7 scoring strikers of last season were set piece takers.
Yeah, I think
Drives it home.
no, defo. And then, yeah, it impacts all the other stuff like XG and whatnot, right? Because if you have penalty as XG of 0.8, obviously, if you're creating a chance from a corner, that helps your expected assist. So, yeah, it's, again, probably stating the obvious, but it's worthwhile just reminding yourself, like, is your
Yeah,
team being dominated by set piece takers?
absolutely. Tip
Um,
3, play the fixtures.
Yeah, so I think, and this is particularly relevant for captaincy and captaincy rotation, but yeah, stating the bleeding obvious, and sometimes there's variables of who's a good team at a given time, but yeah, target. There's some players who are fixture proof, but most of the players like just try and make sure the majority of your squad, 75% of like starters, they've got nice fixture runs against weak teams. Their attackers weak defenses, if they're defenders, weak attacks, right? And particularly target those promoted teams. That's kind of been a real tactic for the
Yeah,
last like 3-4 seasons. I see it continuing. I think Burnley are a very, very weak team. Sunderland are bringing in players. However, they're new players and it's a bit random. They were a very weak championship side. Leeds were a good championship side. However, attacking bias, right? So we'll see if that translates into into the Premier League, right? So yeah, I think target the fixtures throughout your whole squad, and then captaincy good players targeted at playing promoted teams.
Yeah, makes sense. Table for this one, just to back up your point, just picking the players that had some of the highest goal involvements of last season. And if you look at how many of those goal involvements came against the bottom 7, pretty much half, if not more than half. And Bumo, 15 out of 28. So yeah, just shows the power of picking people against those weaker teams. Simple as that. Not much to tell you about other than that on the table.
No, I think everyone who's, I presume everyone listeners have played FPL for at least a season, or if not, kind of many years. We've all got memories of players last year and previous years that have just got hauls against weak teams. Remember Bruno Fernandes being a one against Leicester. I think he got like 2 18-point returns against Leicester. Like, other than that, kind of good season, but not great. So it's tried and tested tactic, right? So play those fixtures, stating the obvious again, particularly those promoted teams. It's a good way to play.
One that I don't think is stating the obvious, mate, as much. Limit your hits. I think I never used to do this. When I first started playing 14 seasons ago, we just worked out. I was probably taking 24, 28 hits a season and thinking nothing of it. Something that you've taught me is to limit my hits down. And given the fact that we've got double the chips this season, we're going to get 5 free transfers in game week 16. It should be a lot easier not to take hits. But why do you believe in it so much?
I think sometimes it's a result of bad planning, right? If you're outside exceptional circumstances, you should be able to avoid hits, right? Especially with being able to roll 5 free transfers, right? I think there's less and less need to take a hit. But a hit is -4, right? That's a clean sheet, right? That's an assist. Like, it's quite hard to get those things, right? So you're giving up that straight away, and that's before you even think about the players you hit out, right? And often you've got an adequate sub player to come on. You might not be happy if you're starting. Your starting player might be injured, but you've got a sub player who's coming in. That sub player has scored 2 points, right? Let's say, for argument's sake, they only get an attacking return, and with this year, with defensive contributions, it might be even a higher floor, right? Let's say 2 points. That means you've got -4 for the hit, and the 2 points that player would have got anyway. So that player you bring in has to get 6 points straight away to
break even,
to kind of redeem it, right? So that's quite tough. That's quite tough to do. So I think it's not about avoiding them at all costs, but your points are really precious. -4. It's hard to get a clean sheet. It's hard to get an assist to attack in return, right? So I think with planning, trying to avoid those hits. Of course, there's some that are unavoidable. There's some exciting big game weeks and whatnot, but I've always tried to limit hits, and I think that's a result of like my playing style of playing the medium to long term. Some people just jump to players every single week. I like to play over a longer term horizon.
That makes sense.
I think
I didn't get
as
a table
well.
for this.
Generally, I think it's preference, but generally, I think it's quite common amongst like engaged managers who've done well over a number of years. They limit those hits, and generally, I think doing nothing is often the best option. So I think accruing those transfers, which is a extension of this one, I think is a good tactic as well. Sometimes just doing nothing unless there's something really obvious is a good tactic.
It's a good tactic. No, I get it, and that's been working for me. And last but not least, mate. Last but not least, tip number 5: tried and tested players. So I'm assuming newbies to the league, not for you.
So I guess there's a few variables to this. So like I think going with players who've been there and done that is important, but there's a few other things, right? It's players who've been there and done that at their current team, right? It's players who've been there and done that with their current manager or similar setup, right? So I think there's some uncertainty, right? So and Boomer a great example that I know you'll go through what the table saying in a second, right? Yeah, obviously he's tried and tested from a FPL point of view now. However, he's been tried and tested at Brentford under Frank as a penalty taker in the last kind of two seasons. Manchester United, I would not say he's tried and tested, right? Because you assume he's not on penalties, don't know how the team is going to be set up. There's a bit more unknowns, right? I'd say Palmer's tried and tested. Salah, of course, is tried and tested. Same managers, you'll know where they'll be sitting. Dare I say some of those players that you've got on this list that are in their second season, I'd say they're not tried and tested, but I'd be comfortable with them. Strand Larsen and Evan Nielsen, I'd be particularly be comfortable with. They've had very good seasons, same kind of setup in the team, same managers. You know they're probably going to get dominate minutes, right? So I'd say they're kind of getting to that threshold. But I think it's I'm always hesitant getting these promoted players, people who've recently come in as a transfer from other team, or players that move within the Premier League, or teams that have got different managers. I'm always a little bit more cautious. That's not to say I'm not considering some players. Obviously, like Haaland, for example, when he came in, hit the ground running, was exceptional. I mean, I think obviously he was a great player anyway, with a lot of pedigree, and came into a very settled, dominant team. Let's see. Be interested in like Wirtz, how he how he starts the season, because I mean, seems like a good price point. But who knows? Who knows if he will start? Who knows how where he'll play? How will? No, but I'm just going to kind of bear with me in like Gyökeres as well. Like, for example, you'd think great, but is he on penalties? How does he translate to Arsenal? Does Havertz play a little bit? Who knows? You'd imagine so, but there's a bit of uncertainty and doubt. And then as you consider like more random players, like who's that guy for Everton that's coming as a striker? You've also got Beto from last year, but there's quite an interesting guy that's come in at 6 million.
Yeah, Barry. Thomas Barry? Is that his name?
On paper, done well in previous kind of teams, but has never played in the Premier League. Who knows what's going to happen there? So I think you got to wait and see how they do and how they set out, in my opinion. So I think couple of new players without that history and pedigree in the Premier League and for their current teams, it's okay, but you don't want too many of them.
Yeah, no, get it. And this backs you up this table. So the top part is just the top scoring players. You can see clearly Salah's 10th season, and Mbumo's 4th, Palmer's 4th, know the league, know what they're doing.
Yep.
The bottom of the table is then the 3 top scoring players of FPL last season, whose first real season it was. So Strand Larsen, Delap, and Evan Nielsen. Now they did have decent seasons, don't get me wrong. But when you rank them against the rest of the strikers in the league, they were 9th, 10th, and 11th. In strikers, not players, strikers. You then look at the midfield, mate. The top midfielder who was in their first real season for FPL points was NDIE on 114 points. That was 39th amongst midfielders. So again, it just shows the power of picking players that have been there and done it.
Obviously, it depends on who, like, for what teams and who's coming in for their first season, of course. But like, I think being settled gives you a higher degree of confidence, I guess. So it's a sensible approach, in my opinion.
Yeah, I imagine if Marmoush had more than half a season, he'd have probably made his way onto that table. But he only came in January, so he missed out.
That's a good example, actually. That's a good example, mate. But sorry to interrupt when you wrap up. It's like,
go on.
Man City. How many tried and tested teams? How many new players are there in Man City? I have no idea how they're going to set up. Think of all the attackers that they've got. Think of all the defenders they've got. That's a team in flux, right? It might be very good players, but I'm not viewing them as a tried and tested team just because of
even Guardiola, mates. They've got Eight Nori come in all of a sudden. Well, who starts at left
back?
Is
he going to be a centre back? Is he going to start as a centre back? You would imagine, but kind of what's that rotation with eight Nori looking like? Who plays out Cherki, Marmoush, Foden, Savinho, Doku, Silva, insert a couple of other new players as well.
So it's mental.
I mean, I think the same applies for the teams that these guys go into as well.
Yeah. think Haaland's the only save. Now they bought Trafford as well. Edison might not even be set and
Yeah,
forget.
yeah, it's kind of mad. And like on this table, like Mbumo, like yeah, he's tried and tested Manchester United, but won't be in the in Brentford, not in Manchester
Yeah,
United.
yeah,
Delap, obviously, who knows? Like he's
yes.
it
We
seems there's a
started.
bit more
We'll see.
settled now in terms of players, like, but yeah, you've got João Pedro, Jackson, and himself. Like, yeah,
Nkunku.
who knows? Like, yeah, obviously that will be a hard avoid for any of those Chelsea strikers,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, I think it's the players
That's
itself, but
it.
also the environment that they go into and like the context.
Wait and see, innit? Wait and see. And yeah, we said it'd be a quick one. And for us, mate, this is relatively quick. 30, just over 30 minutes. Anybody that's been listening to us a while will know that this has been a quick episode. We are about to record another, which will get put out in like 2 days. So don't you go anywhere, Matt. But yeah, I enjoyed the first one. It's nice to get back into old habits.
Yeah, mate. I don't know about that. Yeah, if rambling is it's an old habit, but like, hey, we're a bit rusty. We're a few months out, and like, obviously the passion for FPL is coming out, right? We haven't spoken about it for a couple of months.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't ramble. So I've got no issues with it whatsoever. But yeah, stay where you are, Matt. I don't know whether you want to say bye from this episode or what, but stay where you are. But appreciate your time.
No, my pleasure,
And yeah,
mate.
thanks for chatting. And to you, the audience, thank you for joining us for episode 1 of season 3 of FPL Apprentice. If you did enjoy it, please do give us a like and a subscribe. We're closing in on 1,000 subs. It's free to do. Very nice of you to do as well. And it does mean a lot to me, Matt. So if you could do that, that'd be great. But whatever you end up doing, keep an eye out for another video coming out on Thursday, which is going to be looking at the positions and being the must-have players. But keep your eye on the ending as well, because we have a new outro as well as a new intro, and we'll speak to you soon.